no takers of the Kashmir issue from the international community. In an interview with DW, a German state-owned public international broadcaster, Khan said that there has been a lukewarm response to the Kashmir issue and said that commercial interests are more important for the Western countries. Khan made the comments days after China and Pakistan held an informal closed-door consultation on Kashmir in the UN Security Council in New York, more than 5 months after India abrogated the special status of Jammu and Kashmir granted under Article 370 of the Indian Constitution in August. MEA spokesperson Ravish Kumar on Thursday said that the overwhelming majority of the UNSC believed that the world body was not the right forum to discuss the Kashmir issue. On this edition of The Big Picture, we will analyze how Pakistan has been isolated on the Kashmir issue yet again. Joining me on the program today are Major General Ashwini Sivach, retired defense expert, S.R. Tayal, former ambassador, and Harshvi Pant, Head Strategic Studies, Observer Research Foundation. Thank you to all my guests for joining me on this edition of The Big Picture. Ambassador, let me begin the program with you. What do you make of Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan's statement to the German media house DW, where he has said that no one is with him on Kashmir?
This is a story which is being repeated. After 5th August, Pakistan had tried its level best to make whatever we had done, which is an internal issue of India, some changes which were done in Jammu and Kashmir under the Constitution of India. They tried to make it an international issue. Prime Minister Imran Khan himself went to several countries. Qureshi, their foreign minister, went to several countries and tried to project it as something very big is happening, which will threaten the peace and security of the region. But the world has understood very clearly that Jammu and Kashmir is an internal issue of India. Whatever was done by the Indian Parliament was under the Indian Constitution. In any case, the peace and stability is not threatened. Kashmir is peaceful, Kashmir is quiet. Indo-Pakistan border is also quiet. So whatever may be Pakistan's own perceptions, there are no takers outside Pakistan, particularly among the membership of the UN Security Council. And they have tried to raise it. Of course, at the different forums, they will continue to raise it. We have to be watchful. But for the world, there are other issues. There is Iran and America are on the brink of war. There are so many things happening. In that context, Kashmir is a non-issue. And I would say that Pakistan is only embarrassing their time-tested friend China by pressurizing China to raise it again and again. Twice it has been raised by China in the UN Security Council. Whatever informal discussion took place was at the instance of China. But very clearly, the other permanent members of the UN Security Council, as well as the non-permanent members, whether it is Estonia, whether it is South Africa, whether it is Germany, they have also very clearly said that this is not the UN, it is not a matter to be discussed by the Security Council. And in any case, security, whose security is threatened? Everything is peaceful in Kashmir. So it's very right that Pakistan has been isolated, and whatever its perceptions are, there are no takers outside Pakistan. And one hopes that Pakistan as well as China will learn their lessons and will not try to make it an international issue. If there is an issue, it is a bilateral issue between India and Pakistan, which very clearly countries like France and Russia and even UK has changed its stand, and now they have said very clearly under Boris Johnson, because Prime Minister Boris Johnson has very clearly understood that Pakistan represents certain forces which are very fundamentalist, which are very divisive and should not be encouraged.
Sure. General, let me bring you to the picture now. So what then is Imran Khan's game plan as far as Kashmir is concerned? Is he going to continue to, take this sulking face of his and say that, no, India is doing this, India is doing that, and try to get as much support as possible from around the world? What is the game plan?
Frank, we should not think that Pakistan has taken it lyingly, because Pakistan will make its best effort. Whether it is succeed or not succeed is the second issue. Like what Ambassador was also trying to make it, that along with China, it has tried its best and internationally to raise this issue of Kashmir, especially United Nations Security Council. It has failed miserably. Diplomatically, we have isolated it. It is a victory also of our, you can say, foreign affairs, that we have able to convince the world over that as far as Jammu and Kashmir, whatever we have done on 5th August, abrogation of Article 370 and Article 35 is an internal issue, and it has no, you can say, out of boundary connotations. So to that extent, everything is understood by the world, and world knows it today. J&K is more peaceful than what it was earlier. You know, the terrorism level has decreased tremendously. There are no deaths which has occurred on the hands of the police after 5th August. And the development is coming now in Jammu and Kashmir. Especially the economic activity has improved. Panchayat election and block development council elections have made tremendous impact, because there the administration is going at the grassroots level. So this is what is happening, and it is making Pakistan very nervous. Why it is making nervous is, in their side of Pakistan occupied Kashmir, they are misruling it. They are treating people in Pakistan occupied Kashmir, Gilgit, Baltistan and Shaksham Valley as second class citizen. There is a voice coming from that area only, that they are totally frustrated by the misrule of Pakistan, and they to some extent want to join the Indian state. So therefore Pakistan is today in a very precarious situation. Economically, as it is in a bad state, it has a danger of being downgraded to a blacklist in month of February by Financial Action Task Force. So however, now Pakistan is not knowing what to do. But having said so, I feel that Pakistan will keep on doing 3-4 things. One, it will keep on making effort at international level to raise this issue, whether they succeed or not succeed, at the United Security Council and other international forum. The second thing which is more important is trying to create a problem in Jammu and Kashmir. Now, the way we handle this situation after 5th August, one can say that, you know, a lot of kudos goes to the government, the way they have managed it, in the sense they have improved the counter-infiltration grid, they have improved the counter-terrorism grid, and they have made sure the people who can create problem, they are behind the bar. So as on today, slowly and steadily, that they are easing out all these. You know, today what is happening is your mobile is working, net is slowly coming, your politicians are being released in a phased manner. So normalcy is coming in J&K. But Pakistan will now try to you know, fish in troubled water. What it will do is, one is that it will activate line of control, which is done it. There are about 300 to 400 terrorists sitting on a launch pad. They want to be now pushed in. And there is now intelligence information that there are few of Taliban hardened you know, militants also come this side, which are not only trained but also battle hardened. Second issue which they are trying to convey is, as and when you will find that all these restrictions are removed, especially on internet and all, they will try to create agitation on the in the street of Jammu and Kashmir. That is, they are depending upon. They are depending on Hurriyat, which we have already sidelined them. They are no more, you know, visible in political fora of Jammu and Kashmir. But they will try to create problem of misinformation war, Sai war, and also try to create a problem all other part of India. So as far as Pakistan is concerned, though today it seemingly looks to be lost the battle, but I will certainly not call that they are totally defeated.
Right.
They will make an effort, because ISI is the most rogue organization in the world.
Sure.
And they are capability, because if you remember on 2019 they have found out the most effective intelligence agency in the world is ISI, not the CIA. So therefore ISI will try its best. And now this case of Devinder Singh and all must be also read in the same line, that Pakistan will try its best to create problem within Jammu and Kashmir by bringing the people, you know, out, and for agitation by pecuniary gains, by many other methods, which they have a sleeper cell, they have overground workers, and they have got those 200 to 250 terrorists which are in North and South Kashmir.
Right.
Now, what more has happened, Frank, very interestingly, that why the violence level has reduced, why these 250 terrorists are not able to be that effective as they were earlier. One is the counter terrorism grid is very strong. By not having mobile and internet connection totally been you know, cut or been frozen, they are not able to communicate with their master in POK, and they are directionless. Now that has made a tremendous impact. Now as on today, the every communication is on mobile, not on a satellite telephone. That is also made a lot of difference. So overall, you will find situation in Jammu Kashmir is improving to our benefit, which is not to the liking of Pakistan. Pakistan is feeling it threatened, isolated, world over, diplomatically as well as economically.
Right. Okay. All right, Professor, let me bring you to the picture now. Let me draw your attention to a couple of aspects really of the statement of Imran Khan. First of course, him talking about the lukewarm response, and also moving on to talk about how commercial interests are more important for the Western countries. Is that what it really is? I mean, is that what the Western countries are looking at? That it makes better sense to have a better relationship with India because India's economy is much better than Pakistan's.
Well, partly it's true, and I mean, you don't have to have Mr. Imran Khan to tell us that. I mean, India is, world's third or fourth largest economy in various ways that you measure. And clearly that it has repercussions in the global stage. It will mean that if Pakistan's economy is less than the economy of Mumbai, it's not India's fault. So clearly Pakistan has to look inwards and figure out what is the problem there. But I think the larger point here is Pakistan's credibility. The moment India abrogated Article 370 in August, Pakistani policymakers started this charade of a game where they hyped what was being done in Jammu and Kashmir. They went to an extent of saying its genocide is being perpetrated by Indian security forces, that there's going to be demographic shift in the valley, that the Indians are planning to Hinduize the state, and therefore it's all about certain kinds of in many ways a shift towards certain kinds of population being pushed into the territory. Then and they then extrapolated it and made such a big hullabaloo that I think right now, if you look at what is happening in Jammu and Kashmir, gradually, on the other hand, India started lifting those restrictions. India started stabilizing what the policymakers had done initially to control the situation. So anyone with any iota of dispassionate analysis, when you look at what is happening on the ground, and if you look at the statements that were coming out and still are coming out from Pakistan, there is a disparity there. So any policymaker sitting in a foreign capital would look at that and say, what is going on? Here you are also taking foreign envoys in Jammu and Kashmir. We have had those visits where certain kinds of comfort level has come into the international community. That primarily what India has been doing is to restore certain kind of normalcy there. And as the security situation has not deteriorated, it gives Indian claims greater credence in the international space. So Mr. Khan, to tell the world that right now it's a losing battle, I think he should have realized it at the very beginning, that the battle he was fighting was wrong. So therefore, the outcome could not have been but wrong, or not in his favor. So I think what perhaps is being recognized there is the challenge that Pakistan faces in internationalizing the problem, even with a friend like China. That it's not the isolation of Pakistan only, it's the isolation of China. Multiple times this has happened. And on Kashmir, if you look at even China's closest friend, Russia, the kind of statement that Russians have made, on all other issues they are very, very friendly. But on this issue, clearly Russians have made it very clear it's a bilateral matter for India and Pakistan to resolve. So I think for Pakistan not to get this basic geopolitics right is a major fault of their diplomacy, and I think for India to get this right, I think is a major achievement. There's not denying that fact.
Absolutely. Ambassador, the General very beautifully spoke about how we can't count Pakistan out because Pakistan is definitely going to try something in Kashmir. That having been said, is the bigger problem for India, or the bigger challenge, let's not call it a problem, but bigger challenge, China really, because China has been continuously supporting Pakistan on this particular matter?
That's right. China and Pakistan are together on this issue in many ways. One fact is also that China is also illegally occupying parts of Jammu and Kashmir, which is territory of India. So in some way it is a India-China issue also to that extent. So what they say, but our spokesman and our minister Jaishankar also has made it very clear that whatever has been done on 5th of August, the abrogation of Article 370, does not in any way change the status quo and our position and our stand, whether on line of actual control or line of control. So we have assuaged China's apprehensions but they have a certain position. They have their own claim on parts of our Jammu and Kashmir. So one should look at it in that context also, that our state of Jammu and Kashmir is under illegal, part of it is under illegal occupation of Pakistan, the Pakistan occupied Kashmir so called, and also of China, Sichin, etc. So if they are working in tandem, it should be expected, but the issue is whether which country is really trying to change the status quo. And let us see how China behaves on line of actual control, but the actions to disturb the peace in Kashmir, as General very rightly said, and to create some kind of difficulties would perhaps come more from Pakistan. Overtly, covertly, through its agents, through ISI, mobilization of people, false messages, social media. It is very important that social media continues to be restricted in the state of Jammu and Kashmir. All our viewers would recall General Rawat had made this statement about a year back that radicalization is going on, and it is because of social media, both radicalization and mobilization. So yes, for business etc., there should be more relaxation of internet, and but one should be very cautious in making it absolutely free, because so much of disinformation can come in from Pakistan to disturb the peace in Jammu and Kashmir. And we have to be also careful that Pakistan will continue to find avenues to, it wants to raise it in OIC, Organization of Islamic Conference. They have already have some kind of a deal with Saudi Arabia where it will be held. And also, in case there is some disturbance in Jammu and Kashmir, then Pakistan will certainly raise it in the Human Rights Council also.
Right.
So there are two vulnerabilities we have. Most important is that, of course, the whole world now, which are the important countries, they understand it is an internal matter of India. The security of the world is not threatened, and India is well within its constitutional powers to take action, which has been taken on 5th of August of abrogating 370 and Article 35. But in case there is internal disturbances in the valley and there is some loss of life etc., then it will give an opportunity for Pakistan to raise it again, if not in Security Council, in the human rights and other bodies. So we have to be careful, and till now the situation has been handled with great finesse, with great tact, and all the forces which say you open up internet etc., I think they don't know what they are trying to say. It can lead to a lot of loss of life and property. So things are being managed in a very careful way, and that should continue.
Okay, all right, General. Let's now talk about our options really in Kashmir, because like you pointed out, like the ambassador is talking about as well, that we need to be wary about what Pakistan can do in the days to come in Kashmir. Since you've served, in Kashmir, and since you've seen things happen firsthand, so what are our options really? What should we do going forward?
Frank, first of all, our option is to ensure that the normalcy come in Jammu and Kashmir in a phased manner, without coming under pressure and tension of international community. Now, till now, we have won the round number 1, that we have abrogated Article 370, 35A, and has improved the security of Jammu and Kashmir in a big way. And thereafter, we have gradually now removing those restrictions. We are not coming under pressure, neither in domestically nor internationally. Had we come under pressure, you would have found the situation getting out of hand, because Pakistan is bent upon, and ISI has already got a lot of sleeper cell and overground workers working in Jammu and Kashmir, who will try to create agitation and will try to show there is an indigenous problem coming and people coming on the street. So this could only happen with the help of this international social media and all, and also with this communication channel like mobile channel. Since the restriction was imposed, that thing has failed completely, and situation is totally under control. Now what we need to do is 2-3 things. One is that as I pointed out earlier, that line of control they have activated. They are trying their best to infiltrate as much as possible, because what they are feeling is the leadership is now being totally eliminated of Lashkar-e-Toba and Jaise Mohammed in North and South Kashmir. They want to send fresh terrorists from from Pakistan occupied Kashmir in Jammu and Kashmir. That is what they are trying. They are not successful. Second thing is, as the factor which was coming of China, why China is been slightly feeling threatened is due to China-Pakistan economic corridor, which is going through basically Gilgit-Baltistan. Because in case if we are telling the next step is that POK is a part of India and illegally occupied by Pakistan and also certain area given to China. To some level, it threatened also China-Pakistan economic corridor, which is very important for it. It has invested $62 billion and it is a flagship project of Belt and Road Initiative, which has now come to almost standstill. China is feeling the heat on that issue. You know, there are not too many investors coming except China itself. So this is making an impact on China. China is slightly feeling, you can say, agitated on this issue. However, we have to handle China differently and tell them that we are not going to go against on China-Pakistan economic corridor on that, so that he gets some sort of assurance from it. But as far as Pakistan is concerned, our options are that don't give him any chance wherein he can create problem in Jammu and Kashmir. Our internal grid of counter-terrorism and counter-insurgency has to be very strong.
Right.
Whatever we have made it, we have inducted in more troops there. We have removed little bit of that. Majority of the troops are there. They must continue there, because we should not put our guard down by thinking everything has come to normalization. Because Pakistan, the movement, certain other restriction will be removed, will try its best with the help of its STUs, sleeper cell and also OGW to create a problem, spread the misinformation, spread the Sai war. Radicalization in South Kashmir is a challenge which has to stop, which has to some extent it has reduced considerably the you can say students joining the terrorist group in South Kashmir has gone also down. This all has happened due to because communication has been restricted and it has made a difference on social media.
Right.
So this must continue. It must be released in a phased manner. At the same time, what is important is development must be brought in Jammu and Kashmir. Now, till now, the governance is the main issue. People were feeling it that whatever money is been coming in the central government, it is not making impact on the ground because there were so many other issues. But as on today, once Article 370 has been abrogated, it has now become a union territory. There is a visible action being seen on ground.
Sure.
You know, construction activities taking place. Water and electricity improvement has taken place. That, you know, at ground level, the IS officer is reaching to the villages. Due to Panchayat election, block development council election have been very successful. So now the whole shift is good governance. If India as a state able to do a good governance in Kashmir Valley as well as in Ladakh, you will find a tremendous change in the mindset of the people.
Right.
The people will automatically will say whatever has happened in after abrogation of Article 370 and 35A, a misnomer which was told to them that their rights have been snatched, they will feel it has happened good for them because the governance has improved manifold.
Okay, all right, Professor. So let's talk about this other issue of India's success as far as the UNSC is concerned. What is it that has worked for us really? Even pro-Pakistan allies of the past have now come out openly in support of India. What has changed?
I think two things. One, what has changed is that India is very, very proactively engaged in this discussion. There used to be a sense of defensiveness about Kashmir in the past. Now it's very out in the open. If you see the kind of conversations Indian diplomats are having about Kashmir today, a decade or so before, it was very difficult to have those sorts of conversations. And I think India is very upfront about what it is trying to achieve in Kashmir, and how, therefore, the situation on the ground, whether through mechanism of Article 370, removing Article 370, how that will change, I think, as was pointed out, how it will change the governance structures in the region and how it will challenge some of the old held assumptions about Jammu and Kashmir. And I think that to a certain extent has made its impact. If you talk to international interlocutors, they see the point that, here was a policy that was not working for 7 decades, and so a government is now taking visible action on the ground to change that policy and see what happens. So I think time is on our side. Again, for the time being, because it will depend on what happens on the ground. But I think we have managed to convince a lot of our partners and friends that, look, this is for the betterment of the Kashmiris themselves. It is not that Indian state somehow wants to be a dictatorial state that imposes its own will, but it is about what kind of a renegotiated settlement can be reached between Delhi and Kashmir. And I think that is something that is accepted worldwide today, and it owes it to this very aggressive and open diplomacy that India has been able to conduct after that. If you see what happened from August, our foreign minister has been traveling extensively, explaining this point to a lot of our international partners and friends, and it has again we are seeing that impact. Now I think also the other fact which is I think equally critical and crucial is that India has been also slightly aggressive in its economic diplomacy. So if you look at two countries, Turkey and Malaysia, we have been very aggressively telling them that look, this is unacceptable. This is our internal matter. Please don't internationalize it, and if you do, there will be costs. So I think that is equally important in diplomacy to raise the costs for those who continuously tend to needle you for reasons which are incomprehensible. And I think that has also had an impact in the larger visible way on the international community that India is serious about this. India views this issue seriously enough to raise the costs for those who are needlessly needling the country. Sure. And that has had an impact. And so we see the kind of conversations, for example, out of the UNSC. 3 rounds have happened. 3 times China has put in efforts to make a push. And I think even with Chinese, we have been very, very clear that there are limits to what India is going to achieve, despite the informal summits that the two leaders of the countries have been having, and despite an attempt to improve relations with China on this issue. Chinese have been made it very clear that this is a red line for India. So I think there are all those issues that have kind of coalesced together to give an already ascendant India on the global stage a certain image of a country that means business when it comes to crucial issues, and that would ordinarily this is something that in diplomacy you take for granted, but because this was such a radical departure from the past, I think it made sense for India to put its best foot forward, and hopefully as has happened so far, we have been able to do much better in terms of communicating our side of the story to the world, and the results are at least till now are there for the world to see.
Okay, all right. Time now for one quick last closing comment. Ambassador, close the show for us with your concluding remark on the best way forward.
I would say that the government has been very successful in changing the narrative on Kashmir, that what happened in 1947, 48, who merged, what plebiscite, etc., to the problem at present. It's a problem of terrorism. It's a problem of separation of a country, separatist tendencies, where Pakistan is helping those forces which have support of terrorists and separatists and fundamentalists. And most of the countries have similar problems. So they identified more with India's concerns, and they have empathy with India, sympathy with India, and that is the major change which will help us in future also.
Okay, all right. Yes, General, very quickly.
Frank, I just want to add one issue is that, pressure on Pakistan of non-governance in POK and Gilgit-Baltistan is showing now. The problem which is coming is that the defense which they had, that Kashmir will come to them, is gone. Today they are feeling vulnerable that they may lose POK. And they will lose POK due to their stupidity, because the way they have taken this area and the way they have misruled it for so long, this is now hurting them. And it is showing on the ground a time not far off when the people of POK and Gilgit-Baltistan will agitate against the rule of Islamabad.
Okay, and Professor, I'll let you also have a last word on the program before I wind up.
Well, I would just say that I think while we have discussed India's role, I think it's the credibility of Pakistan also that has made an impact on this. I mean, no one takes Pakistan seriously today, and I think so long as that they're going to continue, we are going to come out on top of this situation. I think that can be a reassuring thought for us.
Okay, all right. On that note, then I'll call it a wrap on this edition